want you to picture just a really crowded room.
Like a cocktail party or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe a high-stakes board meeting right before it officially starts. You know the vibe.
Oh, yeah. Lots of nervous energy.
Right, there's this constant hum of noise. People are shifting their weight, checking their phones, maybe laughing a little too loudly. It's basically a sea of movement.
Total background static.
Exactly, but then your eye catches one person, and they aren't waving their arms, they aren't shouting.
They're probably barely moving at all.
Right, but for some reason, they are the loudest thing in the room. And that is what we are digging into today.
It's the paradox of presence. We usually tend to think of charisma as this additive quality, more energy, more volume, more motion.
Like the classic extrovert model.
Exactly. But the research we're looking at today suggests the exact opposite. It actually suggests that true power, true presence, is a subtractive process.
It's the noise floor concept. You want to be a signal, you don't scream over the static, you just lower the static.
Over the noise floor.
Right. So today, we're doing a deep dive into what we're calling high-definition presence. And honestly, I have to say, this research stack is one of the most eclectic we've ever had.
It really is wild. I mean, we've got clinical psychology papers on the vagus nerve from Cedars-Sinai.
And that book, Light on Anxiety.
Right. Plus, we're pulling from Ed Brodo's negotiation tactics, studies on evolutionary biology and mating strategies.
We even have a frontier study on virtual reality and co-presence. Not to mention breakdowns of elite acting techniques and mentalism.
It's basically a masterclass in the mechanics of being a human being.
It really is. And the mission of this deep dive is to decode how you can move from being just background noise, the fidgeting, the scanning, the anxiety, to becoming the pure signal in any room.
And what's fascinating is that this isn't just about acting confident.
No, not at all.
You can't just fake it. It starts with actual hardwired biology. You can't fake the signal if the transmitter itself is broken.
We have to start with the internal engine. Which brings us to a term that was absolutely everywhere in the medical sources. Heart rate variability, or HRV.
Yes, HRV.
Now, I'll be honest, before reading this stack, if you had asked me about my heart rate, I'd just say, well, low is good, high is bad.
Most people do.
But HRV is a completely different beast.
It's entirely different.
Right.
A low resting heart rate is great, sure. But HRV measures the variance in time between the beats.
So wait, we don't want our heart to be like a metronome.
No, not at all. If your heart is beating exactly like a metronome, like tick, 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 exactly 1 second apart, that is clinically a sign of stress.
Wow.
Yeah, it means your system is rigid, locked in go mode. A healthy, resilient nervous system has variability. It actually speeds up slightly when you inhale, and it slows down when you exhale.
Oh, interesting.
That micro fluctuation is a sign of a nervous system that is constantly adapting to its environment.
So in the context of presence, a calm person isn't just a relaxed person, they're adaptable.
Right. They have a high HRV, which means they can flip the switch between the sympathetic nervous system,
which is the fight or flight.
Exactly, and the parasympathetic system, which is rest and digest. They could switch instantly.
And the physical switch for that, according to the research, is the vagus nerve.
The superhighway of the body.
Right, connecting the brain directly to the heart, the gut, the lungs. So when we see someone who just has that magnetic high-definition presence, biologically, we are looking at someone with high vagal tone.
Their vagus nerve is basically acting like a high-performance brake on their stress response.
And here's the best part for you listening. You can actually train this. It's not just genetics. The sources outlined these actionable protocols to stimulate the vagus nerve, and they are surprisingly mechanical.
Yeah, it's just thinking happy thoughts.
Right. The classic one they mention is the 4-7-8 breathing technique.
Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8.
And the magic is really in that long exhale, isn't it?
It is. The inhale is sympathetic, it's hitting the gas pedal.
Yeah.
The exhale is parasympathetic, it's the brake. By making the exhale twice as long, you are chemically forcing your body to slow down.
And then there's the diving reflex, which I loved because it sounds like something straight out of a Jason Bourne movie.
It's intense, but it works. It involves cold exposure. Basically, splashing freezing water on your face or ending your morning shower with 30 seconds of pure cold water.
I actually tried this one this morning. It definitely wakes you up.
I bet. But functionally, the shock to the face tells your primitive brain, hey, we are underwater.
Oh, so it triggers a conservation mode.
Exactly, an ancient evolutionary conservation mode. Your heart rate drops immediately to save oxygen. It's a literal hard reset for a panicked nervous system.
That makes so much sense. And then my personal favorite, honestly, just because of how ridiculous I look doing it in the bathroom, vocalization, gargling.
It sounds silly, but the anatomy is totally sound. The vagus nerve passes right through the vocal cords and the muscles at the back of the throat.
Right.
So aggressive gargling, loud humming, or even singing actually vibrates the nerve physically. It's like giving your parasympathetic nervous system a deep tissue massage.
So if you want to completely dominate a boardroom, your prep isn't just memorizing your PowerPoint slides.
What?
It's gargling water and taking an ice bath.
In a way, yeah. Because what you are fundamentally doing is eliminating the micro-fidgets. This is the crucial link. When your vagal tone is low, you leak nervous energy.
Like your leg bouncing under the table.
Or you blink too fast, your voice cracks, you swallow hard. These are biological leaks.
And as humans, we are highly evolved to spot those leaks, right? We subconsciously read them as fear or incompetence.
We do. So by fixing the internal engine, raising your HRV, you plug those leaks. You achieve a baseline of absolute stillness.
And that is where the really fun stuff begins. Let's assume we've gargled, we've breathed, we have a high HRV. Now we get into the mechanics of projecting that stillness outwardly.
Right. The sources frame this using a concept called the climb and the drop.
The climb and the drop. Explain that.
Well, it's used a lot in lead acting and performance. The climb is the process of establishing that baseline of zero motion. You become an absolute anchor in the room. And then the drop is the high contrast shift that follows.
The example that really made this click for me was Mads Mikkelsen, the actor.
Oh, he is the perfect example.
If you've seen him play villains like Le Chiffre in Casino Royale or Hannibal Lecter, you know exactly what we mean. The sources call his technique predatory stillness.
It's mesmerizing.
I went back and watched some clips after reading this. He does this thing where he is totally, completely inert. He's not nodding to show he's listening. He's not blinking much. His face is a blank slate. That's the climb.
He establishes a baseline of zero.
Exactly.
And then comes the drop.
Right. He'll just narrow his eyelids by maybe 1 millimeter, or he'll slightly tighten his jaw muscle. And because the background noise of his body is at zero, that tiny millimetric movement feels like a shout.
It creates a massive signal-to-noise ratio. If he were constantly waving his hands around while talking, you wouldn't even register his eyes narrowing. But in total stillness, that micro-movement signals a massive shift in intent.
It changes from I am observing to I am hunting.
Exactly. And speaking of hunting, the source material drew this fascinating parallel to indigenous trackers, like Bushman or Cherokee trackers.
Ah, yes, the motion microscope.
Right. It's a pure survival application of the same principle. If a tracker wants to see the tiny, subtle movements of prey hiding in the brush, they have to completely still their own body first.
Because if they are moving, their own motion blurs their visual field.
They have to essentially become the environment.
And they use that exact same stillness to communicate with the rest of their hunting party, don't they?
They do. When the whole group is operating at that extreme level of stillness, nobody needs to shout or make big gestures. A tiny shift in weight or a very specific small hand shape communicates complex data instantly.
Because everyone is tuned into the micro signal.
Exactly.
What I found so compelling about this is the neuroscience behind why this works on the observer. Like, why does someone else's stillness make us respect them or even fear them?
It comes down to two things in the brain, the amygdala and mirror neurons. Sure. When you are looking at someone who is fidgeting, your brain's amygdala, which is your threat detection center, stays highly active. You're subconsciously scanning them.
Asking why are they nervous? Is there a threat in the room I'm missing? Are they lying to me?
Right. You're entirely distracted by their biological noise.
But when they go completely still,
Your amygdala quiets down. You stop scanning for threats. And that is when your mirror neurons kick in.
and those are the neurons that fire both when we do an action and when we watch someone else do it.
Exactly. So if you watch Mads Mikkelsen tighten his jaw,
My brain literally simulates the feeling of tightening my own jaw.
yes, you physically feel his intent. The signal is so clean, it bypasses your conscious thought. We actually saw this detailed in the mentalism sources too, specifically with Darren Brown.
Oh, the mirror man technique. I absolutely love this. It's almost the complete reverse of what we normally think of when we hear the word mirroring.
It is.
Yeah.
How did you interpret that section?
Well, normally, conventional advice says mirroring is, I copy your body language so that you feel comfortable and like me. But Darren Brown does the climb. He matches a subject's breathing and posture perfectly, just to establish the physical link.
He syncs up the hardware.
Right. The but then he does the drop. Once the link is made, he makes a deliberate micro gesture, like casually rubbing his eye. And because the subconscious link is so strong, the subject actually raises their hand and rubs their own eye.
He reverses the polarity of the interaction. He goes seamlessly from following to leading. That is the essence of high-definition presence. Your signal is so clean that the other person's nervous system literally entrains to yours.
Which perfectly bridges to that VR study we mentioned from Frontiers.
The one about avatar realism.
Yeah. They found that in virtual reality, the realism of the avatar directly enhances co-presence. If a VR avatar moves in a jerky, glitchy way, the illusion completely breaks. You don't feel like you are really with another person.
The immersion is shattered.
Right. But in the real world, your physical body is your avatar.
Oh, that's a great idea.
If you are glitching out here in reality fidgeting, leaking nervous energy people intuitively don't feel present. High definition presence is basically about rendering your physical behavior into 4K.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so we've got our internal engine running smoothly, and we understand the mechanics of the climb and the drop. But let's talk about real-world application. Because unless we're Hollywood actors or mentalists, we need to use this in our daily lives.
Absolutely. The sources point to two primary arenas for this: the natural negotiation and the professional negotiation.
And by natural negotiation, we are talking about dating and mating.
The oldest game in town.
It is. The evolutionary biology sources frame mating as a market of genetic fitness. And if you think about a crowded bar or a party, it is the ultimate high-noise environment.
It really is. And this is where the alpha still signal becomes so powerful.
The alpha still signal.
Right. Evolutionarily speaking, the chemical combination of high testosterone and low cortisol, which is essentially the biological signature of a dominant leader, manifests outwardly as absolute calmness.
So if you walk into a venue and you're frantically scanning the room, checking everyone out, you look like prey. You look like you're worried about predators.
Whereas if you are perfectly still, you signal that you are the predator, or at the very least, you are the one completely in control of your environment.
The sources give a really specific tactical maneuver for this called the still point entry.
Which is fantastic advice, especially for anyone dealing with social anxiety.
Right, because usually people walk into a party and immediately look left, look right, pull out their phone, fix their hair. It's highly reactive.
The still point entry flips that. You walk through the door, you stop, and you do absolutely nothing for a full beat.
You just become an anchor in this moving crowd.
And then, if you do decide to engage with someone, there's the slow motion head turn.
I practice this one. The text says to take 3 full seconds to turn your head to make eye contact. I tried it in the mirror. 3 seconds feels like an absolute eternity.
It feels incredibly slow to you because your internal clock is rushing with adrenaline.
Yeah.
But to the observer, it looks like supreme, unshakable confidence.
Because it signals I control my time. I'm not worried about missing anything.
Precisely. Now, once you are actually in the interaction, the sources outline the pupillary push.
This one is wild because it relies on an autonomic response you literally cannot fake. Pupil dilation.
Mydriasis. It's a biological, honest signal. When we look at something we genuinely desire, our pupils naturally dilate to take in more of it.
So the tactical move here is to lean into the other person's intimate zone, which is about 10 inches from their face, but only for 2 seconds.
Right. You intentionally invade their space just briefly to trigger a reaction, and then you immediately retreat.
And while you do that, you are watching their eyes.
You're looking for their pupils to blow up. If they dilate, that's a biological yes. Their nervous system is aroused. If they constrict, you back off immediately.
But the sources noted other honest signals to watch for too, right?
Yes. The vasocongestion flush is a big one.
That's the reddening of the ears and the upper neck.
Exactly. Blood rushing to the surface.
Yeah.
And the carotid pulse. If you can see the actual heartbeat visibly pulsing in their neck, that means their heart rate has spiked in response to you. You cannot fake a carotid pulse.
And the trick is, while you're doing this highly charged physical maneuver, you are supposed to use what they call a verbal decoy.
This is crucial for balance. If your body is doing something high intensity, like stepping into their intimate zone, your words need to be completely low stakes. You don't want to overwhelm both channels.
So you don't say something heavy, you say something playful, like you look like trouble.
Exactly. It keeps their conscious mind busy evaluating the banter, while your body is talking directly to their wizard brain.
Multi-layered communication. And it also mentioned using your breathing to sync with theirs. Entrainment.
Yes, matching their inhale and exhale to lock their nervous system to yours just like mentalist technique.
So fascinating. But let's pivot to the boardroom, because these exact same biological principles apply when you're asking for a raise or trying to close major deal.
Absolutely. We look closely at Ed Brodow's negotiation frameworks here.
Brodo is a legend in that space.
He really is. He heavily emphasizes the 70-30 rule, meaning you should be listening 70% of the time and only talking 30%.
But in the context of high-definition presence, it's not just sitting there passively listening. He calls it dynamic silence.
Dynamic silence. I love that term.
It's basically weaponized quiet.
Right. Let's say you're in a tough negotiation. The other side hits you with an unreasonable demand or a lowball offer, like, we can only pay you half of your asking price.
The immediate human instinct is to jump in and defend yourself. No way, I'm worth more because of X, Y, and Z.
You feel this intense pressure to fill the void.
Instead, Brodo suggests holding absolute stillness for 6 full seconds.
6 seconds of stunned silence.
Should we try it? 1,
2,
3,
4, 5.
6. That feels incredibly uncomfortable.
It does. But you don't look angry. You just look totally immobile. That silence creates a massive psychological pressure vacuum in the room. The other person feels overwhelmingly compelled to fill it.
And usually they fill it by immediately negotiating against themselves. They'll say, well, maybe not half. We could probably do 60%.
You literally win the point just by refusing to move.
And by not speaking, it signals that you heard them, you are considering their words, but you are completely unbothered by them.
It establishes you as the high-status individual.
The sources also brought up micromirroring in professional settings. Now, we've all been taught basic mirroring. If they cross their arms, you cross your arms. But the SAC explicitly warns against that.
Because if you do it too obviously, it looks like mimicry. Comes across as mocking or manipulative.
So what is micromirroring?
It's entirely about the subtle intent. If your counterpart relaxes their shoulders slightly, you don't dramatically slump in your chair. You just soften your own shoulders by a single millimeter.
It's a subconscious signal.
Right. It says to their brain, I am with you. We are in sync. It builds rapport and trust without you ever having to concede a single point verbally.
And what about when things get aggressive? When you are truly cornered by a demand, Brodo suggests asking the how question.
The ultimate verbal jujitsu move. You just ask, how am I supposed to do that?
But, and this is where the HD presence comes in, the physical delivery is everything.
You cannot say it with tension or anger. You have to pair it with what the texts call ocular softening.
Ocular softening, relaxing the muscles around the eyes.
Yes, the crow's feet area. If you ask, how am I supposed to do that? With a hard glare, it is a direct challenge. It invites a fight.
Right.
But if you ask it with a physically soft, open face, it registers as a genuine puzzle. It forces the other person's brain to switch into problem-solving mode to help you.
You shift the entire burden of the problem back onto their shoulders.
Exactly.
And finally, there is Brodo's law. Always be willing to walk away. How do we signal that physically without actually storming out?
Through the leading vector.
Okay, tell me about the leading vector.
Before you verbally push back, before you say, I don't think this is going to work for us, you physically turn your shoulders just slightly toward the door.
Just a few degrees.
You orient your body toward the exit before you verbally exit.
And the primitive brain of the person across from you picks that up instantly.
Immediately. It screams, they are leaving. It triggers a deep loss aversion response. It makes the verbal negotiation suddenly feel urgent because your physical presence is telling them you are already gone.
This is all incredibly potent, but honestly, it feels like a lot to juggle. If I walk into my next meeting trying to consciously remember my vagus nerve tone, my leading vector, my ocular softening, and counting to 6 in my head, I'm gonna look like a malfunctioning robot.
You will crash your own system. That is exactly why the Health News Hub source emphasizes habit stacking.
Oh, right, integrating it into things you already do.
You have to automate this stuff until it's second nature. You link the new protocol to an existing daily routine.
Like the morning gargling.
Exactly. Don't set a special alarm to stimulate your vagus nerve. Just stack it with brushing your teeth. Brush, then gargle for 30 seconds. Boom. Your vagal tone is set for the morning.
In the ocular softness.
Stack it with looking in the mirror. Every single time you check your reflection, brushing your hair, washing your hands practice, relaxing the muscles around your eyes, most of us naturally frown or tense up when evaluating ourselves.
Create the muscle memory to soften instead.
Right.
The one I actually started trying today is the doorway drill.
That one is an absolute game changer for transitioning between environments.
Explain how it works.
Every time you walk through a physical doorway, entering your office building, walking into your house, going into a conference room, you pause for a microsecond.
And you achieve isometric neutrality.
Yes. Drop the shoulders, unclench the jaw, take one breath, then enter.
So you're essentially resetting your physical baseline dozens of times throughout the day.
It ensures you don't carry the physical stress from the traffic jam into your morning meeting, or the stress of the meeting into your living room.
And what if things go poorly? Like, what if you get rejected, or the meeting just completely tanks and you feel that adrenaline rush?
The protocol there is physical grounding.
Pressing your big toes into the floor?
It sounds a bit esoteric, but it is purely physiological. By pressing your toes down hard, you direct your brain's focus downward and you physically engage the large muscles in your legs.
It literally grounds you.
It acts like a lightning rod. It stops all that frantic, nervous energy from rushing up into your chest, your face, and your voice.
Now, there was one more protocol mentioned, specifically for long-term relationships, the silent night.
This addresses the problem of signal decay. In long-term couples, we get so used to each other's presence.
We go on autopilot.
We stop really looking. We stop reading those micro movements because we assume we already know exactly what the other person is thinking or feeling.
So the protocol is to spend an evening, or even just an hour, where you deliberately do not speak to each other.
You communicate exclusively through touch, eye contact, and micro gestures.
It forces you to tune completely back into that high-definition frequency you had when you first met.
It resensitizes your nervous system to your partner's physical reality. It can be profoundly intimate.
It sounds it. Now, before we wrap this deep dive up, I feel like we have to issue a bit of a warning here. We spent this whole time talking about predatory stillness, unblinking gazes, moving into intimate zones, and holding dynamic silence.
Yes, there's a very real danger zone with this.
The uncanny valley.
If you apply all these mechanics, if you freeze your body perfectly still and just stare at people, but you do it without any underlying warmth, you do not look charismatic.
You look like a serial killer.
You trigger what's called predator lock. In the wild, if a large animal freezes completely still and stares at you without blinking, it means it is about to strike.
So it triggers deep primal panic in the observer.
Exactly.
So what's the antidote? How do we use high-definition presence to be magnetic and not just deeply creepy?
It all goes back to the Duchenne micro smile.
The Duchenne smile. That's the one that involves the eyes, right?
Yes, we talked about ocular softening earlier. A real, genuine smile always involves the crinkling of the eyes, not just the mouth. If you are going to hold that intense, powerful baseline of stillness, you must pair it with that slight crinkle around the eyes.
It totally changes the signal.
Completely. It shifts the biological signal from I am hunting you to I am fully, safely present with you.
It says I am powerful, but I am not a threat.
Because presence without warmth isn't charisma, it's just intimidation.
So the ultimate goal here isn't to walk around like a stone statue, it's just to be high-definition human.
Exactly. True presence is never about using tricks to manipulate others. It's entirely about mastering your own biology.
Because when you stop vibrating with all that internal noise, when you stop fidgeting, reacting, and leaking energy, people naturally lean in.
They desperately want to hear the pure signal.
All right, so here is the challenge for you listening today. You don't have to go out and try to be Mads Mikkelsen this afternoon. Just try one single microdrop.
Pick just one interaction. It could be ordering your coffee, or talking to a coworker, or your spouse. When they ask you a question, do not answer them immediately.
Pause for 3 full seconds.
Keep your face perfectly still. Soften the muscles around your eyes. And then answer.
See if the physical energy in the room shifts. See if they lean in just a little bit closer to hear you.
You will probably be shocked at how incredibly loud that silence can be.
But I'll leave you with this final thought. We've talked all about how physical stillness controls a room of other people. But maybe the ultimate application of high-definition presence isn't about human interaction at all. What if the real test is how you interact with yourself when absolutely no one else is watching? If you can't be still alone in an empty room, you will never be truly still in a crowded one.
Wow, that's the real baseline.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Now, go make some noise by being completely quiet.
Catch you next time.